Hey everyone, it's Arfan, and I'm back with another guest expert interview for the Successful Coaches show. And I am with Deb Laflamme. Deb, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. And it wouldn't be fitting if I did not brew a fresh cup of coffee for meeting with Deb. Deb and I share a love of coffee, so
Yep.
cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Yep. Cheers,
Of course, I
Arfan.
gotta
Yeah.
take a sip before I continue.
Mm-hmm. We might be doing that a
So,
lot.
yeah. So definitely love having a cup of morning cup of coffee. But I'm excited because I have known Deb for a number of years. She was one of the coaches that I've had the opportunity to work with when I first started on this journey back in 2019, I believe it was. Yeah,
hmm
2019, 2020. So I know the stuff that she's talking about, she's going to share with us today is legit. It's going to be impactful. And if you're someone who is really looking to um, do things a little bit different or better, or show up in a way that feels authentic and natural, and just do the dang thing. What we're going to share today is going to be super beneficial. So without diving in too much so far, I want to turn it over to Deb to just give us a little introduction of yourself and how you got started in this work.
Thank you. Yes. And I love when I get to re-talk to people who have been in my space, either in person or online, for the number of years that you and I have been connected. And just a shout out back to you that I've referred my clients to you for support in your business. And it's just such a
Yes.
comforting feeling to have you and your experts in my back pocket as a content coach, because I can't do everything for my clients. And I love having someone like
Mhm.
you, Arfan, and your team to support my clients in a way that I just can't. So it's a beautiful relationship and partnership. And I'm really grateful for that as well. So, where did I start? I mean, it's been, I think, almost 14 years that I've been an online entrepreneur in some way,
Ooh,
shape, or form. And on my morning walk today, I was thinking, God, like I've really had my own business for 12 plus years before
amazing.
people were marketing online, before COVID, right? Before everybody decided to be
Yeah.
online because it was easier or healthier or safer. And so I think what that does for me and for the people I work with is I have this edge of watching the trends over time. I see what works, what doesn't work. I see what's lasted longer than just trending audio, for example. And I think we're going to get into
hmm
that today. I also know that it's one of marketing is one of the things that online business owners, brick and mortar business owners have to do. I know that it's on the
Yes.
bottom of your to-do list. I know marketing yourself, your offer, your service, your product is like, oh my gosh, I can't just like be here and do what I love. I have to market it too. And we're going to talk
hmm
about that today because you don't have to feel like that to share what you do, how you help your client, and how they can work with you. So we're going to go all deeper into that stuff, but that's really what it comes down to is it doesn't have to feel heavy, hard. It doesn't
hmm
have to feel like you're pushing that boulder up a hill in the snow, in the wind. It can feel light, it can feel fun, it can feel easy, and I know that you agree because you've seen it work.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that because there are those who listen right now who need to hear that, who are innately in their mind are thinking that it's not that it's hard, that it is difficult, that it is something that's bigger than it has to be. And when you follow and when you a lot of times we get stuck in a place of when we don't know. And when we don't know, it's crippling. But when we all of a sudden just get something to click, like just that just gave permission anyone there. Just if you're thinking that it's hard, if it's difficult, it's not. It can be easy, and more importantly, it can be fun, and that's what makes
Mm.
it consistent. When you could do something that feels great, it feels fun. So I appreciate you, Deb, so much for being on here today. As a content strategy coach, it's something that um, you have the expertise in there to be able to look at this from a 30,000 foot view and to be able to, to see things that people don't see when they're, face to the mirror, so to say. So one of the big things I want to talk about is, right, so when we talk about putting out content as a business owner, whether it's brick and mortar or online, there's a need to just be online in general, right? The way the nature of business is going now. Why do you feel it's important to show up confidently online?
Mm. Great question. Well, first of all, content and marketing online isn't going to go away anytime soon.
Very true.
So, right? And lucky for you and I that that's a need that business owners have, right? Support to do it better. I believe that you need to show up confidently and consistently online because it's the only way you're going to stand out.
Mm.
And I always use the red pen story, and I do have my red pens. Let me grab them because I think it's very easy for people to get caught up in everybody's already doing it. So how can I stand out?
Mhm.
Or there are so many people like me, so who's going to pick me? And it comes down to the red pens. And the simplest example is this. Arfan and I both have this red pen. They're exactly the same. They're the same brand. They cost the same. You can get them both right now. You don't have to wait 2 days with Amazon Prime or one day even, or the same day. You can get it right now. They cost the same. They look the same. They write the same. You will get the same result from both Arfan's pen and my pen. At the end of the day, when our dream clients are standing in front of us, Arfan, and you and I are right next to each other on a stage or in a bookstore or at a restaurant, a coffee shop even, and someone is deciding whose pen to buy, it's going to be because of the way either you made them feel or the way I made them feel. And so if we are not showing up confidently to share what it is that makes us who we are and why our service or product is going to help them, or common threads that we have. So Arfan made a comment about me loving coffee and him loving coffee. It's been a common thread, a connection that he and I have had for years. Years. So when in doubt, you can have a cup of coffee with Deb Laflamme or Arfan, and you would know that it would be a connection. So we've got to show up confidently and consistently sharing what it is about our red pen, which, by the way, it's
Mhm.
not even about the red pen. It's about Arfan or me that sets us apart from everyone else and their services and products. And if you can't feel confident in why I should buy your red pen over someone else's, then you've got to go a little deeper and do some inner work so that you can stand out and feel confident and be proud. It's like telling your kids to go out on stage and do their best job. Do it as well as you possibly can. You would tell them to do that. So now it's time that you need to do that.
Absolutely. I love that example, and it's been a while since I've heard
That's the short
that
version, but
example.
yes, yeah, the
Yeah,
short
and
version.
it's so true. Like something was said to me a very long time ago that most people don't necessarily remember the exact words that we say, but they do remember how we made them feel.
Yeah, I think it's
And
Maya Angelou. I think she said they
is
won't
it?
remember. Yep, they won't remember you. People won't remember what you say, but they will absolutely remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for pointing the reference out because I think it's so powerful because it applies to so much that we do online, especially when we take that frame and that perspective into into our minds, it allows us to loosen and just kind of free up things. Because I believe that as coaches, as business owners, a lot of us innately are in this work because we're trying to do good. We're trying to help people. We're trying to make a difference, and it's not just all about making a ton of money. Well, we want to, of course, we need to to survive, but innately we're trying to do good. And this just kind of as we're talking, just kind of feeling that it just takes a little pressure off of the shoulders, and it makes it so much easier now to say, okay, you know what, I can actually do this. It's like boosting up the confidence. So let's dive in, right? How do you like how like we know the why, right? So, but now what about the how? How does
Yeah.
someone start showing up confidently online?
Well, I would say the first thing to remember is when you're watching everyone else and you're in your news feed and you're scrolling Instagram, right? You're watching other people. And if there's something about them that you love, it's probably because they're being themselves. And something that I share with my clients all the time is the easiest person to be is yourself. So part of why you're having a hard time showing up, sharing your stories, talking about your business and the way that you can help your clients, your dream clients, your customers, past, present, and future, is because you're trying to be something other than yourself. So that's the first thing to think about is like,
Oh.
am I trying to like rearrange the room? Am I trying to make sure the counter is always clean in my
Hmm.
videos? Am I trying to not say or like? Am I trying too hard to focus and not blink?
Yeah.
You will notice many times that both Arfan and I are like kind of gazing off. We're not being disrespectful to each other. It's just our normal mannerism conversation. He might have a second monitor. He might be looking at the levels. He might be looking at the lighting. I just tend to always do that. It's how I've always been. I'm 50 years old.
Yeah,
It's not going to change. And trying to change that is going to impact the delivery of the message that my dream client needs to hear. So
absolutely.
more times than not, I am not showered and fully dressed and have a face of makeup. I would say that's 1% of my content. 99% of my content is me after a workout or when I'm on a walk with my kids, when I'm in the car waiting for my kids, not driving, because I don't believe in driving. You know that. I don't, no
Yeah,
driving. No content is important enough to be driving. But sitting in a moment in time of my life, the message is coming through me. I'm somebody who needs to deliver that message. And if I try to be something or someone else, that message will never come out of me in the way it's meant to. And so do the shakes, do the deep breaths, go do the workout, get into the zone where you feel the most alive and deliver your message that way, whether it's a reel or audio or just a text only post, or you're typing up a blog, you're writing an email to your subscribers. Let it flow and don't block it with, is this good enough? Or does this sound professional? The best
yeah.
compliment I've ever gotten, and actually there's two. One compliment that I've gotten many times over from my email subscribers is, I can hear you talking when I read the text.
That's
So
awesome.
because that used to be something that crippled me, Arfan. I would stop, edit, cut, and it would never get sent. And then I was
Yeah,
like, you know what? I just need this message to get out. That's what's important. People could hear me saying it as they were reading it, the exclamation points, the things in parentheses. Like I literally write the way I talk. The second compliment was, I'm consistently saying the same thing year after year after year. I've gotten better, I've gotten clearer, but I'm not all over the place. I can help you market your biz better. Here's how I do it, right? I'm not like changing and following. And here's the thing is we get so distracted by watching other people online in the same industry or something like me
so
that
true.
you slow your pace, and that's why you're slowing your growth.
Yeah, that's so true. You said so much things there are so powerful that if you're, those who are listening right now, if you're still, in a transitional phase where you're looking to get your business going, you're not fully there yet, and you're trying to think of like, hey, what are some things I need to do to market it better? It's one of those things where it's very easy to fall into that trap of if we watch expert interviews or things that are curated, edited to where you don't see the ums, the uhs, the moments of pauses, things like that.
But they're
And it
there.
was
But they're
they're
there.
there.
They're there. Yep.
And
Someone just polished it up, which is fine. It's fine.
yeah, I was watching an interview with Elon Musk about probably about maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And it was something in my mind. I was just listening to the interview and the amount of ums, uhs, and pauses and looking up in the air and just before answering a question, 10, 15 seconds of ums and uhs. And I was there like, obviously, one, he doesn't give a crap probably because he's already,
Yeah,
earned,
yeah.
he's at a
He
certain
is his
level.
authentic self, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things where it's like we can put so much pressure on ourselves to try to make sure our things are scripted and everything is, completely written out with no ums, no uhs, and do our best to, like you mentioned, like not like look at the camera straight on without blinking or gaze off to the side. And I found that in my own journey, I've like what's allowed me to start showing up more consistently online and confidently online is just saying screw it. Like if I make a mistake, if I blabber, if I mumble, it's okay. That's just part of who I am. And my communication style has improved along the way. There was a point where transcription services had a really hard time just even saying my name. But now it's almost like they get it 100% of the time almost. And people don't even get my name 100% of the time. So transcript
Right.
so it's so you gain a lot of confidence by also just putting this into practice, taking that pressure, taking any kind of self-judgmentalness off of it and saying, "Hey, I'm going to show up and deliver my message because you have something to offer. You have something that's beneficial to humankind for, lack of a better saying, but so it's something where putting it out there um it's it's going to create a bigger impact than you even realize. And the more consistent you can do it, it's definitely going to be, be great. And um, so it's a beautiful thing too as well. Even like being able to look back at it
Oh
5 or 6 years later on and
yeah,
saying, "Wow, like look how far I've come," or "Look where I am now." Like that at the beginning, you mentioned you're in business for 14 years,
yeah.
right? And it's one of those things where being consistent, you can look back.
There
And
was no
before
Facebook. There was no
there
Facebook. There
was,
was no Instagram. There was no Pinterest. There was just email marketing and websites. I mean, really, that's when I started. That's what it was. But you said
Mhm.
something that's really interesting, and you've got to practice. Like anything that you want to be good at, you've got to practice. And this
Yes,
is like if you want to be stronger, you don't just lift one day and get all the muscles, right? Kids get their permits. We don't just let them go drive cars. They have to practice the same thing. And if it's important to you, if your business is important to you, you will practice. And think of if you created a product. This is the thing that people forget about. You created a product. You didn't just wake up and create the product in one moment. Like it was version 1, version 2. Some of them may have failed, version 3, version 4. I was listening to, I don't know if you listened to How I Made That, the podcast. And this weekend, I listened to the one with the owner of Boston Beer Company, and they manufacture Sam Adams beer and lots of other beers and spirits. And like he talked about the process for creating the seltzers, the hard seltzers, and how the first one failed and the second one failed, and they had to change their whole recipe, and then the marketing, and then who they were marketing to. I mean, it's a whole thing. And then we as consumers are like, oh, new product on the shelf, let me try that. Like
yeah,
it didn't just show up, there was a process. So like,
exactly.
why are we thinking that the one couple of things, one video is going to be perfect, and also why are we thinking
Hmm.
that one time we show up is going to make all the sales that we need for our business? That's the other thing, right? So
Yeah,
it's like such a long process, and it doesn't have to be years. But the more you practice, like if you were learning guitar, you wouldn't play Stairway to Heaven on your first day. You would practice each chord over and over again until you perfected. I can say that because my kid plays guitar and that's a song I want her to learn. But anyway, I digress. The other thing that you mentioned too is like watching other people. And one of the things that helps your confidence tremendously is to wear what I call biz blinders. Literally, like the horses do for the Derby, right? They wear the blinders. Why do they do that? So that they are focused on their race and their race alone. They're
mm,
not seeing the other horses coming, going. They don't know. That is why horses are so close in a race. If you've ever watched horse racing, which I love horse racing, if you've
yeah,
ever
yeah.
watched a horse race, they're so close. Guess what? They are so focused on just going around the track. They're not looking at anyone else is doing. They are just focused on their race. And the best advice I can give you is to wear your biz blinders. How do you do that? You can mute accounts that are making you feel like you're not good enough. You can, and
Yes.
they won't know, and then you can go and seek them out when you want to. You can unsubscribe from email lists. If every time you get an email, you're like, ugh, they're emailing. I wish I was emailing. Stop receiving those emails. If it's not making you feel good about yourself, your work, your
Hmm.
business, your future, the way you help the world, just remove it. There was a time, even 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, that companies, businesses did not know what their competition or neighbors were doing. We didn't know.
Yeah.
You just focused on your goals, your marketing strategy, your plan. You had it all mapped out on paper. Your team or you executed it. You sent mailings. You made phone calls. You didn't know what other people were doing.
Hmm.
Now we know what everyone's doing, and it's a distraction. So the best advice I can give you, if you're feeling like everyone's ahead, just put your biz blinders on. Try it for 30 days. I guarantee you will see a difference in your confidence.
No, that's powerful. And that's something that can definitely like really allow you to show up online because now you're not looking at anybody else and it takes away any what's it called? Comparisonitis, the where we just
Yeah.
compare ourselves to somebody
Mhm.
else. Like, oh,
Imposter
they're
syndrome too. Yeah.
imposter. Yeah, their reel
Mhm.
got X likes, mine only got this much or whatever the case
Oh,
is.
that's
Like
a
it's
right. We could the whole like thing, like that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't That has no correlation between what you see and what their bank account. You have no idea how many staff members they have.
exactly.
You right? There's so many variables that come into success, especially online business, as you know, Arfan. And we just make ourselves smaller and smaller and smaller based on those analytics, and it's
Mhm.
irrelevant. I mean, I can tell you my likes have nothing to do with what I have in the bank account, because I'm not just selling online. I have coaching business, I have a social media business. There's no correlation between that. I am just making sure that I'm there so that when my dream client needs me, they can find me. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who's listening to that right now, if you are thinking about you're putting up content and you're doing it for social engagement, that is just one small unit of measurement in terms of how effective your content is.
Totally.
And it's something very powerful. Like I had someone respond to one of my emails, looking to book a consult call, and
Mm.
I was, wait a minute, this email looks familiar, but it wasn't something I sent recently. It was something
Mm.
from 2023, March of 2023. And I guess they must have saved it and decided now was the right time. So it's one of those things where I
You
don't
got to
look
be
at my,
there. You got to be there when they need it. I mean, and it could have been that they saw a video or a post from your business online and they were like, oh, yeah, that I remember. And then they go to their email, they search your name, they go to their inbox, search your name, and that last email pops up with the link to book. I mean, that is what social media can be used for too. It's awareness, it's staying top of mind so that when someone needs what you have to offer, they know where to find you. It's beautiful when you use it that way. And also, business owners like us, they get confuddled. I talk about this all the time. Like, am I marketing for my dream client or am I marketing for the algorithm? Like, if you're an influencer, market straight to the algorithm. Go ahead. You need to be viral. But if you're a business owner, small to mid-sized business owner, or even a solopreneur, make sure you're marketing for your dream client. That's where the money is, because they're the ones that are going to take action. Algorithms not going to take any action. They might get you in front of a lot of people, but those people aren't going to click through and book calls,
Mhm.
because they're people that are just like scrolling. They're not doing anything. They're not taking action. But if you're an influencer, sure, market to the algorithm. So there's so many things that come into play. If you remember your goal, who you're here for, who you love working with, create content for those people. And that's where you'll feel more confident when they start interacting with you, sending a DM, scheduling that appointment. That's like, it works, right? You must have had a moment of like, hot damn, email marketing got this person to say yes, even a year ago. It's great. Love it.
Yeah, even a year ago. So, all right. So we got, basically wasting time looking at everybody else's stuff, being able to put business blinders on, really
Mm-hmm.
taking a moment to look and see what kind of feelings are coming up as you are scrolling on social. And if you're starting to feel like that low energy, that kind of like, hey, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough, or feeling bad overall, unfollow, mute that account or unsubscribe from that account.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's really important, right? So when it comes now to being thoughtful, because you're a content strategy coach, you're not just a
Mm-hmm.
content saying, hey, put content up, it's more being strategic with it, right?
Yeah.
What like instead of just winging it, what like the benefits of really being thoughtful and intentional about prepping and planning content out?
Yeah. Winging it is not a long-term strategy. So there's that. If you're feeling burnt out or annoyed or frustrated with social media content creation, it's probably because you don't have a plan. And I use the word plan because when I say the word strategy, people are like, what? Like, that must be expensive. That must be pages and pages of things, and it must take a lot of work. So if we just say it's a plan, like just like when you're prepping your meals for the week, if you go to the grocery store and you don't have a plan, you will not come back with all the things you need for those meals that you want to have. It just won't happen. Even if you think it's in your head, you're going to miss something. And therefore, you're going to have to go back to the store. It's going to be very inconvenient and you could have done better. So people can always relate to the meal prep, right? So if you know you want to make 4 meals for your family this week, you're going to decide what those meals are. You're going to list the ingredients and you're going to check your pantry, your fridge, your freezer to see what you already have. And then you're only going to buy probably what you went in for. You're now strategic, you're organized, you're intentional, you save money and you save time. So why aren't we doing this with our content? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So there's 4 phases of content creation. This is what gets you off that content hamster wheel. Now, do I love when people go live? Yes. Do I love when they stop on stories and share a little bit? Absolutely. That's the party stuff. That's the connection stuff. That's the let me hear, allowing my dream client to hear my voice. But the plan stuff, the stuff that saves you time, money, energy, and keeps you organized and gives your dream client what they need. The 4 phases are curation. So that's curating the ideas. I don't know about you, Arfan, but like my best ideas don't come when I'm sitting at my laptop. They come when I'm working out or making coffee or out in the car doing carpool or in the shower or on vacation or during a massage. So like they come at the most inopportune times, pretty much. So the best tip I can give people is to have a way to take those ideas and put them somewhere safe, because otherwise you're like, oh, that's a good idea. And you're opening up your phone. Well, your phone's probably open, but you're opening up the Canva
Yeah.
app and you're making a piece of content. You're posting it very haphazardly. I want you to stop doing that and instead take the idea that you have and put it in a notes app or a Google Doc or a voice memo or a journal that maybe you have in your bag in your car, piece of paper. I mean, for God's sakes, like I have stickies that I just, I keep them by and then I put them into a Google Doc so that I have them all there for me. That's what works for me. I also have a notes app. So if my phone is accessible, if I'm not currently using my phone for something else, I can just type up those content ideas, especially on the treadmill. Those ideas come pretty quick. So that's the first phase, curation. The next phase is creation. This is where you take those ideas, or at least the ones that are really good, and turn them into something. So you would actually block time in your calendar for creation. Imagine that. You block time to have
Blocking
your hair
time.
done. Right, blocking time. You have time, you block time to have your hair cut. You block time to go to the doctors. You probably block time to talk to your CPA. You block time to go get your kids off the bus. Those things are important. So is your content. So when we block time to create, you don't need to block 8 hours. You could block 90 minutes a week or 2 1-hour slots a week. It doesn't have to be content creation for a year. Let's just do it for the week or 2 weeks. Keep it really simple. So you block that time, you go to the list that you curated of ideas, you pick 3 or 4 ideas that like feel really good. You open up Canva and you create that content. You write those captions and you get it scheduled. That's the third phase. I call it calendaring. So you got curate, create, calendar. So that means using a scheduler, because Lord knows it's 2024 and you do not need to post every single piece of content manually from your phone. We need to detach from thinking that you have to do that. So use a scheduler. There are tons out there. I'm happy if you guys have questions, send me a DM on Instagram. I will share my favorite scheduler with you. Use the free Meta one to get started. It all works. There is no hardcore proof that using a scheduler hurts your engagement. Lord knows our engagement is down without a scheduler. So you might as well be detached and get those posts posted through something other than your hands,
Absolutely.
right? So that's the third phase, is getting it scheduled. And then the fourth, and honestly, the one that people forget, curate, create, calendar, connect. The fourth is connection. So after your content goes out, you've got to connect with your dream clients on your page, on other pages, in groups, in conversation, in DMs. Social media is social. We're not just here to post, post, post. You need to connect with people, get into the conversation. So curate, create, calendar, connect. And it definitely simplifies the process for me and for my clients when they think of it in phases. It just lightens the load of, oh my God, what did I post today? Or
Yeah.
did I post today? Or I should have posted today, when you're putting your head on the pillow.
Yeah. You said something really powerful there about curation, and I really want to just kind of talk to everyone for a real quick second that
Good.
each of us have our own different moments and times where we get ideas.
Totally.
And the more you can become self-aware in terms of when you get your ideas, you'll be intentional about, like, I have the notes app. That's how I do mine too as well. and or I'll just write it down in my notebook or something like that.
Yeah.
But typically it's
Yeah.
in my notes app because it syncs to my computer. I can look at it there too as well. But
Good.
when you start realizing the moments where you get your best ideas, it starts changing the game because now when you go into creation, you have this whole, like what they were saying, you write it down. So now you have a repertoire of things to pull out from, and you're not trying to like force content or compare to somebody else. Someone else is doing this, let me do my version of it or something like that. And it makes this process just flow a lot better, a lot smoother. And guess what happens? You start showing up confidently because now these are your ideas, nobody else's ideas. It's coming straight from your source, straight from your energy, and it's a really
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. So you're giving us a ton of things here. So definitely no, don't wing it. Really plan it out. Follow the 4 C's: curation, creation, calendar, connect. There's an episode from Teresa McCloy where she talks about do what matters, living from rest, not rush, and she gave a really good tip about really blocking. So if you guys want to check out that episode, it's really really great.
Yeah.
It really
I love time
complements what Deb was
blocking.
saying.
Yeah, I love time blocking. I actually have a podcast episode that I talk about how I broke up with my to-do list. And it was like it's May 2019, I think. And I broke up with my to-do list. I was a list maker. And at the end of the every day, I would feel bad when there were things on my to-do list, right? Because everybody's stuff got done except for mine. And so in May, I did an exercise for 30 days where I did not write a list. And if it came to me, I like had to go into my calendar and put it in as an appointment because then it became non-negotiable and I actually had to do it. It took me like almost 2.5 weeks to really stop writing things down on paper. I mean, I would grab envelopes like that were from the mail and I would write lists. It took me almost 3 weeks to actually break that habit because I was so good at making lists, but I was tired of feeling bad about the things I didn't get done in my business or for my house or for my family at the end of the day. So I just broke up with the to-do list in 30 days and I have never gone back. And actually, it was cool because during COVID, when people were grocery shopping and nobody was using paper, I was like, yeah, I've been on the grocery shopping app for years. You guys need to come over to this side because I even stopped making grocery lists on paper because it just was like another thing. So I started going digital with that. But the key about using time blocking for me, and this is the thing that people get tripped up with, is that they feel like they're consuming their calendar and all the times, but I always say it's blocked, not locked. So you can always move it. So if something is taking you longer in the day and you may not get to replying to a client email, just move that to the next morning. That's the beauty of using a digital calendar is it's blocked, not locked. So it's still important. It's still intentional. It's not going to hang after 5 o'clock on that Wednesday. You can just move it to first thing Thursday morning and then you can
Mm,
check it off, right?
yes.
So being blocked but not locked gives you the freedom of managing your time. I block everything. I have time for myself in the morning. I put in grocery shopping. I put in picking up like a 30-minute window to pick my kids up from school. Everything is in my calendar so that I can manage my day. It gives me the freedom of my time, seeing it and not feeling bad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who are listening right now who are still working a 9 to 5 and building your business on the in different hours, things like that, when like the more you can implement time blocking and really planning out your calendar, you'll
Yeah,
start seeing that you're making a lot more strides in your business and getting things done with and I want to say this with less time than you think
it's
because
true.
it doesn't it
It's true.
doesn't it doesn't often take as much hours as we believe it takes to build a business. Especially like I work with clients who are generating multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, and we look at their schedule and how they plan their day, and I was like, wait a minute, 15, 20 hours a week or something like that. And it's like, yes, there's teams and things like that involved, but they're so intentional about what Deb was saying, she does herself, is to blocking out those projects, blocking out the things on the calendar. So now it's focused and it's intentional. So it doesn't take 2, 3 hours to do something that can just take a half
Right.
hour or
Right.
an
And it's
hour.
non-negotiable. So it becomes important too, especially if you're building a business, right? You are
Yes.
you are making your business a priority so that you can leave that 9 to 5 if that's your plan.
Hmm.
So that you can get to those clients this week so that you can achieve the promises you made for that. And for me, like if I have to do a proposal, I could just keep having it on the list and rewriting it every day. But if I'm like Tuesday at 10, I'll just work on that proposal. It will take me 20 minutes, 30 minutes max, and they'll have it midday Tuesday. Then I can say to the client, yes, I'll get you that proposal by Tuesday afternoon. Like I look at my calendar when people ask of me, and I'm like, here's when I can realistically get it to you. Does that work? Same with booking this session with Arfan. I could have rushed and done it. And I was like, nope, we want space. We want to have a beautiful conversation. I don't want to feel rushed. I want to make sure it's a day that I can work out in the morning so that my energy's up. Like I didn't want it to feel like just another task. I wanted it to be important. And that's what happens when you put things on your calendar. They become important.
Love that. That's absolutely amazing. So I think the other thing that kind of lingers in people's mind is when they're thinking about content and um planning, prepping, putting things out there, there could be somewhat of an overwhelming feeling of I need to. So I want to preface this. I saw a post by Neil Patel, who does a lot of research in across the online marketing space, and he made a post and was like, they analyzed 15,000 Instagram accounts to see what had the highest growth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of engagement on this, but the whole list of stuff, I was like, a family, three kids, a wife, and a business. Like, there's no way I would have enough time to do this. And it was like this whole list of like needing to do 5 to 7 stories a day, 3 to 5 reels a week, one live, one collaboration, all these different things. And immediately looking at that, there was just a feeling of overwhelm. And when I looked at the
Mm.
content, you could see everyone was just overwhelmed regarding this. So, what's your thoughts and your opinion on that? Someone who wants to show up online when they're thinking of planning and prepping their content and just like not coming from a place of overwhelm.
Yeah. Well, so like I said earlier, we're never going to be done with content creation, but I have a couple tricks up my sleeve that I think can help your listeners show up authentically, confidently, and most importantly, consistently. That's what it comes down to. In order to be seen, to be heard, to connect, you've got to do those things. So,
Mm,
first of all, there is no shame in repurposing your content. That to
mm,
me is a superpower that people forget about. They've created content for months or years, and they're just like letting it hang out back there. And if you're still doing the same thing, which I am, and still teaching the same content, which I am, and saying things but only saying them clearer, then why wouldn't I repurpose that content in some way? So repurposing
yes.
is brilliant. And you can do it in different ways. You can literally reshare it exactly the way it is, no changes. You could change the call to action only. Like maybe
Mm,
you don't want people just to join your email list. Maybe you want them to DM you. So just redo that content and change the call to action. Also, you can change the audio, you can change the hook, you can change the caption, you can change the entire video. Like pick one element that you want to switch. And I call it zhuzhing. You're going to zhuzh that content so that it feels different energetically, and then you can repurpose it. If anyone comes to you and says, I saw you repurpose that, like you just posted that 30 days ago, send them my way. Because guess what? They're online too much. They need to get a life. Like
yeah, there's stuff like that.
nobody will know that. And it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Even if it's good content, it doesn't matter if you've already shared it. And I also think we're forgetting about our blogs, our Facebook
Hmm.
lives that used to get, hundreds and thousands of views. PS, like that doesn't happen anymore. But there's someone new in your space, either a follower, a fan, a community member, someone who's just watching and not interacting, a new email subscriber who hasn't seen that content yet. That's who you're going to repurpose that content for. So that's my first tip. Okay,
Love
repurposing.
that.
And I know all of you are like, oh yeah, I do have a video that would still be relevant. So yeah,
Hmm.
like go into it. Even if half of your content each month is repurposed, think of that. How much easier is that for you? Okay, so that's my first tip. My second tip is knowing the kind of content your dream client needs from you. And this is part of my Simplify Your Content Planning class that I teach all the time. But there's 4 kinds of content that your dream client needs, and it helps them connect more deeply with you. So yeah, you can watch Neil Patel and you can watch all the gurus talk about the kind of content you need to create, but there's pillars that they need to connect with. So it's like the foundation of your home. You wouldn't just put your home on a sand lot. Like you would at least put a concrete foundation or a concrete
Yes.
slab, you know. You got to build the foundation. So the foundation of content is inspiration. People want to laugh, they want to cry, they want to feel something. That's the fluff that people talk about, like the memes, the jokes, the inspirational quotes. Okay, that's that category, inspiration. The second category or pillar content or bucket, whatever everyone's calling them these days, and I've been talking about them for a while. I've been talking about pillars all the time. I have you remember these, my popsicle sticks, right? I always use these when I'm teaching. And of course I didn't have them ready. I apologize. But there's inspiration. That's the first one. And that's the stuff that sticks us all together, connects us so that we get to know each other and our humor and the things. The second is be a resource. When in doubt, be a resource. This is the kind of content you don't necessarily have to create. So if Arfan wrote a blog that I know my dream client could benefit from, I could hem and haw for weeks about whether or not I'm going to rewrite that blog in my own voice, which Lord knows I'm not going to because I don't have the time. And he already did the work for me. So why wouldn't I share that with a call to action that says, let's hop on a call and talk about how an ad strategy could benefit your business? And I can connect you to Arfan. Like that's just a very specific hyper-focused example. But what if I read a book or a TED Talk, watch a TED Talk or listen to a podcast that I know my dream
Yes.
client could benefit from? I would share that. That's what, when in doubt, I say be a resource because it's the easiest kind of content to share.
I love
The
that one.
third pillar is services with a double dollar sign on both S's because, hey, you got to talk about your business to have a business. If I went and audited 10 people's content right now, I would guarantee that this would be one of the areas that they're lacking in. They're either really focused on selling or they completely forget about selling. So it's like this. No one's ever like this when it comes to services, right? So, but this could be a free workshop, a free download, a testimonial, everything that might potentially get someone to say yes to you in some way, shape, or form in the future. Doesn't always have to be monetary exchange. It could just be an email exchange. It could be them feeling something by connecting with the person who wrote the testimonial and seeing themselves as that person. So services is important because it reminds people that you have a business. So many of us have friends and family following us, and it's like, they're like, what is she doing? Like, make sure your friends and family know you have a business because they could be the number one referral source for you. And then the fourth and final is about you. I always say it's about me, but it's about you. So if you're not dripping some of the content about you, like who you are, where you live, this doesn't mean giving your phone number, social security number. You don't have to worry about that. You don't even have to
Yeah.
show your face all the time, but this is the red pen. I mean, what sets me apart from everyone else like me? All the content strategists in the world. What is different about Deb Laflamme, right? And like Arfan knew he had to have coffee for our chat today. You know, it's the branding, it's the feel that people get about me, about my kids, where we travel to, my astrological sign, my human design, where I live, the fact that people see lighthouses and think of me, you know, things like that that resonate with people, which get them to connect more deeply with me. So when you're creating content, you want to make sure that you have all of the categories covered. And so let me just remind you, inspiration, value, services, and about you. Those are the kinds of content you need to make sure you're sharing. And back to the number of stories and a number of posts, a number of reels, if you give me what I need when I need it, it could just be in 4 posts a week. Could be, but you've got to make sure you're being intentional and strategic. And that's why knowing the kind of content and using the content phases is helpful to reduce that overwhelm of, oh my gosh, how am I going to do 15 reels this month? How am I going to create 5 stories a day, 7 days a week? Many content creators take the weekends off. They don't even show up at all. It's like a reset for their account. You could do that too. You also could just share content from your grid to your stories and never show your face for a whole week. That's also creating stories. So there's so many different ways to think about it, but if you don't give me what I need to take the next best step, then you're wasting your time in content creation, really, more than anything else. That's like the best tip I can say is if you're just like winging it and aren't planning and aren't thinking like, oh, is this helpful? Is this valuable?
Mhm.
Then you're just doing it to do it. And in my space, we don't post just to post. We post with passion and purpose, so that you have potential to get people to say yes to you.
There you go. That's very powerful. I love that. We got a lot of tremendous value today from Deb. If you're listening to this, I know I got a bunch of stuff. Even after knowing half of these things over the course of the year, I got some things today. So I know you guys do too as well. Deb, if someone wants to connect more with you or potentially even attend one of your workshop, your classes, what's the best way to get connected to enter, to be part of your world?
Yeah, well, there's a lot, but I'll just give you one today to make it easy for everybody. If you're on Instagram, my account is For the Love of Your Biz. You'll see my face on that page when you pop over, and just send me a DM and tell me that you heard me with Arfan chatting, and I'm happy to answer any marketing, simplify your marketing, content marketing questions that you have.
Awesome. There you go. So that is For the Love of Your Biz on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. And we'll see
Yep.
your picture on there. Awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. So guys, when it comes to showing up confidently online, um, there's like the thought of like, hey, I just have to be on social, and you
Hmm.
want to just check off a box that, hey, I was social today, I was social today. And then there's a thought of, hey, I could be I can do this in a particular way. I can be strategic with this. I can be thoughtful with this. I can prep, I can plan, whichever was going to resonate with you. But more importantly, is just really the being your authentic self. I think one of the big takeaways I got from Deb today was just really just doing it authentically and not looking at like, hey, this person does it that way, this person does it that way. It's more focusing on you. How can you do it? How can you leverage some of the permissions that Deb have given in terms of if you go on video, you say you kind of goof up, or you're looking to the left, you don't make eye contact with the camera lens. It's cool, it's totally fine. Do it anyways, show up. So, and but
Yeah.
being intentional really about the content you're putting up. And I think the other thing too definitely is really when if you are starting to feel overwhelmed, just knowing that, well, it doesn't, you don't have to check off any particular boxes of doing any like this amount of stories, this amount of posts. It's really just about giving what's needed for someone to take that next step.
Yep.
And really being yourself in inspiration. Being yourself is inspiring alone. And that's something I found out when people started telling me that, just to share my story. Like, that's inspiring. I never even about the 10th or 12th time someone said this is when it finally clicked. Like, oh wow, like I guess I do have a story, and we can overlook it, but it's one of those things. And you will eventually get feedback from people, where like they've got the response in the emails of the your emails like sound just like you as you're reading it. You will eventually
Such a
get to that
compliment,
point.
right? Such a compliment. Like, is there
It
anything
is.
better than that? Like, you are, I hear you. I hear you. I'm reading your words and I hear you. And as someone who's always said, I'm a terrible writer, I'm a terrible writer, like in my head, I've always thought I was a terrible writer. I wanted to write like other people. And then I realized, oh, as soon as started writing like me, it was so much easier. And now I've been
Yeah.
consistent with my emails because of it, right? So everything else was tripping me up. Listen, I've been doing this a long time and I still went through it all. And if I can help one person show up authentically and confidently and consistently so that their dream clients feel inspired, my work here is done. That's all I want.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom, encouragement, inspiration that you want to just share to the listeners before we end this episode?
Oh, I have so much that I want to share. Let me see. One little tip. Um, be proud of yourself. Every little thing that you do for your business is a big thing, even though you may not see it now. All the connections you make, all the emails you send, the little research that maybe you're doing to get your business to the next level, it's all a big deal. And you just don't see it yet. So trust that someday a conversation like this might happen for you where you'll be able to say, I've known you a long time and I'm so glad that we took the step to have a relationship. So those little things make a big difference. Be proud of all those little things right now.
Absolutely love that. All right, everyone. Well, that wraps up for today. Thank you so much, Deb, for joining me. I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful. And for
Let's do
all
a
of you
final
listen,
cheers.
yeah, there we go. Cheers. Um, and for those of you listening, definitely connect with Deb. It's gonna be something that I promise you will change the game for you in terms of how you, if you've been, if you've been online for years and you're looking for a better, improved way, connect with Deb. It's gonna definitely change how you start showing up online. With that being said, I will catch you all in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye bye.